Hello everyone, welcome to the show The Focus Line. In today's Focus Line, I am going to discuss the many articles which are very important from the perspective of GS2 as well as the GS3. So today I am going to discuss this much article. Okay, first I am going to discuss the Nepal crisis. I am going to discuss what is the historical route and Indian Nepal relations. Okay, what is the historical relations, what is the current relation. These all things in deep I am going to discuss. Also, in second architecture, I'm going to discuss this particular article came in the Hindu, where it is discussing the way forward for Katchatheevu dispute. So I'm going to discuss in detail. Also, I'm going to discuss the historical background. Third article, I'm going to discuss Israel and Arab conflict because you are aware about the Israel just attacked on Hamas leaders in Qatar, Doha. Then again, it is strained the Arab and Israel relation that I'm going to discuss from the historical perspective as well as the current relations. Then again, I'm going to discuss one article from the GS3, that is Indian economy perspective, that is about the framework for cryptocurrency regulation. One more article from the perspective of the environment as well as from the regulation, that is about the environment assessment impact report for the minings. Okay, so government has said there is no need of public consultation for the mining of the critical and atomic metal. So all of these article I'm going to discuss, and this article I'm going to discuss in comprehensive way. After listening to the discussion, you no need to go anywhere and read about this. So comprehensively I'm going to cover this topic. So stay till the last and understand what is the exactly issues are there. So first issue I'm going to discuss is about the Nepal crisis. So why it is Nepal the GNG is protesting? The immediate trigger was the ban on the 16 social media sites. So that was the immediate context. But if you see the from the long term, from the 2-3 years, there was the many drivers which ultimately led to the violent protest. So what are the drivers? There was the anger at the corruption and impunity. Sir, currently there are many videos surfacing on social media where you are seeing the lavish lifestyle of the politician, their homes. So from that perspective, you can understand what level of corruption was the prevalent in Nepal. Second is about the nepotism and elite capture. Okay, you have seen the many Nepalis, they migrate to other countries in order to get employment. Okay, and if you see the lavish lifestyle of their current politician and the elites, there is the stark contrast between when it comes to the class inequality. So that is the one more aspect. Also, it comes to youth unemployment and lack of opportunity, because the currently youth employment in Nepal is around the 22%, and the highest employment in age group of 14 to 25 years. Okay, where these Gen Zs are dominant. So here the unemployment is the 25%. So this is I taken from data that came in the Hindu itself. Also, if you say the economic distress and remittance pressure, if you see the Nepal's total economy, okay, in total economy, 25% contributed by this 25% of GDP. It comes through the remittance, and also the 66% of the household in Nepal, they depend on this remittance. So you can understand the what level of unemployment is there and the economical crisis if the remittance is stopped. Next is the political fatigue and the failing governance. So this data again came in the Hindu itself, where they have explained that the Nepal has the highest level of the governance changes. So total in the last 50 years there will be 25 governments. Okay, on an average, the one government last is the 13 months. So this is the worsening the political crisis in Nepal. So this is the one more factor. Also, there is repressive response and escalation, because you all are aware about when the protest started, that time you have seen the 90 to 20 people died. So that is a repressive response that is created or the escalated this protest. So this is the brief background behind the protest. So we'll now see the what is the political history, because the Nepal's political history is all about the instability. So that we need to understand if you want to understand the present crisis. So in 1951, everything started. So it is ended the Rana rule. Ranas were basically the prime minister of the Nepal's king. But these Ranas, they consolidated power for nearly 100 years. But here in 1951, the Ranan's rule ended, and here they re-established the constitutional monarchy. The monarchy re-established in 1951. So this was the one significant development in Nepal's political history. Next development came in 1960, where the king of the Nepal, he abolished the multi-party system. They retained the constitutional monarchy with one party. So they abolished the multi-party system. So what it led? It is given the uncontrolled power to the king or the royal crown. So this is the one significant development. The panchayat system, which abolished the multi-party system. Okay, it was the partyless governance was there in Nepal till the 1990. So in 1990 there was a people's movement. It is called Jan Andolan 1. So that time the pro democracy protest started, and this led to establishment of the constitutional changes started. So democracy, it is retained the constitutional monarchy, but it is given it established a multi-party system. So after this, the again significant development came in 1996, where the Maoist insurgency started. Okay, so during this Maoist insurgency, if you are all are aware all are aware that in 2000 or 2001, there was the huge crisis, political crisis. There were huge protests. The violence was at its peak, and what it led? It led to killing of some members of the royal family itself. So king himself barely escaped from this protest or the violence. So that was that level of political violence happened in between this Maoist insurgency in 1996 to 2006. Ultimately, it led to 2006. They have concluded comprehensive peace agreement. So it is paved the way for the democracy in Nepal. And ultimately in 2008, they abolished the constitutional monarchy, and the Nepal as a federal republic got established. But then due to the political dispute and political uncertainty, the constitution was finally adopted in 2015. The new constitution adopted. So that time you are aware about the India also led to economical blockade of the Nepal. And this because of the Madhesh issue that we will discuss in later part. So this was also the political development in Nepal is closely linked to the India also. So this is one point I wanted to point. And this what is led the economical blockade by the India. It forced Nepal to go close with the China because of the being the Maoist government ideological, they were close enough, and also ultimately the India's big brother policy or the big brother attitude that forced Nepal to close to the China. That led to 2007 to 2014. So it led to political instability. We have seen the successive government change. There was the instability, the coalition were changing. So all this political development closely related with the India-Nepal relations, because during this period, that 1990 People's Movement, India supported the pro-democratic forces in Nepal, and against it is seen by the Nepal monarchy as against its sovereignty. But again in 1990, when the Maoist insurgency started, 96 to 2000 till 2006, that time Indian government provided protection to Nepal's monarchy. So India is also closely related to the political development of the Nepal. So from that perspective, it is important. Again, from the perspective of the economical, India's and Nepal relations are crucial. To understand this, we can see from the data. If you consider GDP size of the Nepal is merely around the 43 billion, okay, and the projected growth is 4.5%. Also, the inflation if you see 4.45%. So this is about the Nepal. But if you see when it comes to the trade, India is the Nepal's largest trade partner, because the 68% of Nepal's export that comes to India. So this is huge dependency Nepal has on India. So this is the one more important part. Also, if you see the major imports from India, that is petroleum oil, machinery, vehicle, cereals, iron, steel. So these are the major exporter from India goes to the Nepal. When it comes to the major export to the India, Nepal, what it established? They export edible oil, processed food, tea, jute, and other goods. So mostly they export these edible goods, and they imports non-edible goods. So from that perspective, India is very crucial for the Nepal. Also, if you see the remittance, historically the remittance contribute 20-25% of GDP, and more than 50% it comes from the India. So this shows how the Nepal is economically closely related to India. Also unemployment and youth, we have seen the current employment is 20%, but when it comes to the Gen Z, like the people who currently they are between age group of 15 years to 25 years, they are the employment among them it's nearly 25%. So that ultimately led to the violent protest. So this is about the Nepal's economical state and also why how the Nepal is closely linked to the India. So next thing we need to see the how the India and Nepal relations are closely related. From ancient and medieval time, we all are aware about we have shared Hindu and Buddhist heritage because Sita, who born in Nepal, also she married to Sri Ram. So that time we have the strong relations. Also the Buddhism, Buddha born in the Nepal, Lumbini. So the Buddhism he established it in India. So the Hindu, when it comes to the Hindu and Buddhist religion, we have the close cultural ties. Also during the modern time, the ties between India and Nepal we described as roti beti ka rishta. And also the during colonial time, if you see in 1986 there was a treaty of Sangoli. So during this treaty, it is the East India Company or British India got some territories, particularly in Himalaya, Uttarakhand, and it retained the sovereignty of Nepal. So that time the relations between a close relation between India and Nepal started. Ultimately in 1900s, what happened? Gorkhas recruited in India into British Army. Okay, ultimately and again Indian Army, there is the separate regiment. Gorkha regiment is there. Also the Indian Army chief gets the honorary chief military chief status in the Nepal. Also the Nepal Army chief gets in India. So that kind of the close relations we have when it comes to the military. Also, if you say post-independence relations, we have the signed one India-Nepal Treaty for Peace and Friendship in 1950. So it allowed the free movements of people and the goods. Okay, and here actually starts the roti or beti ka rishta. So this is after this that roti or beti ka rishta is described. So we have the free movement of the peoples and good. Also it granted reciprocal right of residence, property, trade and movement. Also, it established special security relations. Also, this particular treaty caused some dissatisfaction in Nepal. Also, there was a protest in the Nepal. So ultimately, 2006 there were the amendment that we'll see also. Next, if you see the during Cold War era, in 1960 Nepal tried to balance the tie by it started accepting aid from the USSR and China. So from that time, it started balancing the ties with India. But in 1962, when the Indo-China war happened, Nepal was the close to India. It supported the India. That is one major achievement of the Indian foreign policy of that time. Also in 1975, some dispute started because the Sikkim integrated or merged with India. And Nepal traditionally claimed on the Sikkim. That time, from the sovereignty perspective, to safeguard the sovereignty, it started deepening ties with the China. And ultimately, when the Maoists came into power, the ties were deepened. Okay, because of the ideological similarity on both sides. Also, during the democratic and Maoist phase, that 1990 to 2008, in 1990 there was a Jain Andolan 1, wherein India supported pro-democracy or pro-democratic forces in Nepal. In 1996, the Maoist insurgency. Also during the 1990 to 1996, when the Nepal Congress was in power, it was closely linked to the Indian National Congress in India, because the leaders of Indian National Congress and Nepal Congress, they studied in the same colleges in India, so they had very close relations. So the Nepal Congress is seen as a proxy of Indian National Congress in Nepal by the Maoist forces, and from that the Maoist insurgency started. So that time India provided protection also to Nepal's monarchy. But in 2006 there was a comprehensive peace agreement. Also India, in backdoor, India supported or facilitated this comprehensive peace agreement. Ultimately it paved the way for the democracy in Nepal. Okay, so this is development happened till 2006. In post 2010, that when the Nepal established formally republic, that time in 2015 Nepal constitution was adopted. So there was the protest in Madheshi, and it ultimately led to border blockade by the India, because if you see the Nepal, Nepal's map is like this way, and the Madheshi, they are particularly dominant in this part, that border between India and Nepal. So previously, if you see the how the Nepal's constituency were divided, they were divided in like this. So through the Madheshi, India had influenced the Nepali politics, but in 2015, the constitution, Nepal, the constituencies divided like this way, in vertical way. So what is happened? The Madheshis, they were dominant in the close border of India and Nepal. They were thinly distributed all the constituencies, so they lost their political influence. So ultimately, that India not liked this one, and it led to the border blockade or economical blockade in 2015, and this particularly led to the PM Oli, who was from the Maoist party. They started the developing close ties with China. Also, they have signed the BRI project, the Trans-Himalayan project, which is aimed to reduce Nepal dependency on India. It will facilitate the export from Nepal to the China, and also it will give access to the Pacific Ocean. So they are developing Trans-Himalayan highway. So and through the under this BRI project. Also in 2020, there was border dispute erupted because Nepal released one new map. In this new map, there are the three places called Limpiadura, Kalapani, and Lipulek. These are the two places. Currently it is in India. Nepal claimed on these places because of their ambiguity on the origin of the Kali river. So from this border dispute arise, and Nepal with the new map in 2020, they claimed on these places. So that time the border dispute started between India and Nepal. In 22-23, there was the resetting time because India started investing in hydropower. The Arun 3 project were there. Okay, many other projects India started investing. Also, it facilitated power transfer from the Bangladesh to Nepal and Nepal to Bangladesh. So this way, India started building the close ties during this phase. But in 24-25, Nepal they exported electricity to Bangladesh via India. So India also facilitated this particular aspect. So from there, again, the close ties started becoming. But you all are aware about in 2023, when India inaugurated new parliament, that time there was the one map of Akhand Bharat. So Nepal's many politicians oppose this particular map because it is shown the Nepal as a part of India. So from this, the small issues that escalated deepened the dispute or the strained relation between the India and Nepal. So this is all about the India's and Nepal historical relations. Now if we see what are the challenges between Nepal relations. First challenges lies in the sovereignty sensitivity in 1950 treaty. Okay, because India will support the Nepal in military modernization, and that is seen as a threat to its sovereignty. So that has become the sensitive issue. And also these are the developments that Akhand Bharat ka map. Okay, so these again pushed Nepal close to the China. So this is one more challenge. Also the perception of Indian interference, the border blockade in 2015. So that also seen as a India's halt on the Nepal's economy. So the attempts Nepal considered there was attempts have been done. So from that perspective, India they always see India is interfering in Nepal's politics. Also China factor through the Belt and Road Initiative. Also the Maoist ideology. Okay, so they are again the close to the Nepal politician and the Chinese politician coming together. Also the Chinese they established some cool schools. They have introduced Mandarin language in the Nepali school. Also they are deepening the people to tie. So the China's factor is become very relevant nowadays. Also the trade and border disruption. Okay, so this is the one more again the reference to the economical blockade. Also the currently the protests are happening. So that time the border the disruption would be happen because just one article came in the Hindu the Indian Express it actually. So there was the people who were coming for classes in the India itself, so they can't go back because of the borders blocked by the SSB there. Okay, so these are the issues are occurring. Also the infrastructure and connectivity dispute is there. Okay, infrastructure because of the development delay, development, the delivery deficit from that, and when compared to China, they quickly deliver the infrastructure project. Okay, and at the low cost. So from that perspective, there is the challenges when it comes to the tackling the China. So these are the challenges currently involved between India and Nepal relations. So this is all about the India and Nepal relations. We'll observe what is the development happens in future, and that time we will again we'll go through comprehensively, and again we'll see the way forward that time. So now I'm moving toward the next article. It is about the Israel carried the airstrike in Doha, that is capital of Qatar, targeting Hamas political leaders during the ceasefire, during mediation talks, and also it escalated the Israel and Arab relations. Okay, so if you want to see the brief background of the relations between Israel and Arab, so in early 20th century, there was a rise of Zionism and rise of Arab nationalism under the Ottoman rule, and particularly due to the Hitler's suppression on the Jews, the Zionism that strengthened, also the demand for the separate Jew state also strengthened. Ultimately, in 1948-49, the Israel established for the Jewish land, and again it goes back to World War I era, where the 1917 there was the Balfour Declaration, where United Kingdom, it is promised the separate Jew states after the conclusion of World War. So that also led to the strengthen the unity among Jewish people, and also strengthen their demand for the separate Jew land. In ultimately 1948, they established Israel, and that time only the first Arab-Israel war started, or it popularly known as Nakba. So all the surrounding states of the Israel, be it Jordan, Egypt, Syria, so they attacked on the Israel. Ultimately, it led to the Israel's victory, and also it is strengthened the Israel position in the particular region, the Middle East region. Next development happened in 1956 during the Suez Crisis, when Egypt tried to nationalize the Suez Canal. That time Israel aligned with the United Kingdom and France, and they attacked on the Egypt. So that time it occupied the Sinai Peninsula. So that was the one more second escalation between the the Israel and the Arab. So next in 1967, the 6-day war started. Okay, and or the land for the peace. So the surrounding country such as Syria, Jordan, Egypt, they attacked on the Israel, but ultimately what it led to the Israel's victory. In addition to this, Israel has retained or the occupied West Bank, Golan Heights, they occupied from the Syria, also East Jerusalem. So these territories that currently under, also it occupied Gaza. So these territories are still under control of the Israel. They are occupied during the 6 days war in 1967. Ultimately, it led 1973, the Yom Kippur War, because the Israel wanted to recover the Sinai Peninsula, their treaty, and Egypt and Israel declared Egypt along with the other Arabian state, it attacked, it done surprise attack on the Israel. So that time this Yom Kippur War started. But ultimately in 1978, what happened? The Camp David Accord, they signed between the Israel and Egypt, and Egypt become the first Arab state to normalize ties with Israel. So in 1979 and 78, the Camp David Accord signed, and Egypt became the first state to normalize ties with Israel. So this is the development happened. Next development came in 1994, when the Israel and Jordan peace treaty concluded. So that time the Jordan became second Arab nation to sign treaty with Israel. So again, the normalization between Arab and Israel relations started. Again, the latest or the significant development came in 2002 when the Arab Peace Initiative that is proposed by the Saudi Arabia. So it is it is recognized. It is proposed that they will recognize the Israel as a country, but same time they put some criteria that Israel should empty the Palestinian land and also it should recognize the Palestinian state. So from that, in 2002, that Arab Peace Initiative proposed by the Saudi Arabia. In 2020, the again latest development came when the major superpower that USA involved in this particular issue. The US led Abraham Accord, where it proposed the normalization of ties between the Israel and other Arab countries. So this particular supported by the UAE and Bahrain. So these two countries under the Arab Accord started the normalizing tie. Ultimately, what it is led to the I2E2, that is India, Israel, USA, and UAE. So this is one group is established to normalize tie between the Arab countries and also the Israel, as well as to increase the economical ties between all the countries. But it called all the efforts halted in the 2023 and 25 when this post October 7, that 2023 Hamas attacked on the Israel. So all the efforts, whatever the efforts have been done, that got vanished because of the Hamas attack and Israel's violent response to it. So this is about the brief development between the brief information on development between the Israel and Arab. So now we'll need to see what are the diverging points between Israel and Arab state. Why they are not coming to one conclusion? Because of these issues. First is the territorial dispute. Because all the Arab countries, they are pro-Palestine, they are supporting the Palestine, and Israel is not ready to recognize the Palestine. In fact, the major developed countries are there. USA, they are also supporting the Israel. So the territorial dispute is there, that is unsettled. So this is the one issue. Then again, the sovereignty and the security related issue is there, because just we have seen the Israel attacked on the Doha, citing their security threat to Israel because they attacked on the Hamas officials. But ultimately, what they did, they violated sovereignty of the Qatar. So there is the conflict when it comes to the security and sovereignty. That is one issue. Also, there are the divergent political alignments, because we have seen the two countries. These two countries are again coming close to the Israel. So there are the wise which wants to normalize ties with Israel, and there are the fundamental wise which are not ready to compromise with Israel on any issue until they recognize Palestine or they empty the land. So there is different political alignments are there. Also there is internal and regional politics that involved here. Okay, because role of the Iran, that becomes very important, because the Iran is wants to promote itself as the pro-Muslim or the leader of the Muslim countries. So from there they are also targeting the Israel, and they are supporting the Palestine on other organization. Houthi rebels are there, Hezbollah is there, okay, and also the Hamas in Gaza Strip. So they are supporting. So the internal and regional politics is there. Also their mediation and military versus military, because the mediation efforts are less compared to the military escalations, because every decade there would be one violent military escalation between the Israel and Arab countries compared to the efforts taken for the mediation. So these are the diverging points when it comes to the Israel and Arab state. So now from the India's perspective, what India has done pre 1992, because both countries got independence same time. Israel established in 1948, when the India got the got freedom in 1947. That time we faced the same issue, because India also got partitioned, and the Israel the land divided between the Palestine and the as well as the Israel. So same issue we faced. But in pre 1992, what India done? India strongly supported Palestine, because we know that what the concern or what were the repercussion we faced. We don't wanted to face other countries, so we strongly supported Palestine. Also that time we had the close relation with Arab countries, and to show this we voted against the Israel in early UN resolutions. Okay, so this close we were with the Arab countries. Also in 1992, the significant development when the Cold War ended. So India formalized diplomatic ties with Israel. So formalized diplomatic relation in 1949. Before this, India recognized Israel, but it is a formalized diplomatic ties in 1992. In post 1992, India adopted dehyphenated policy. Okay, so it is closely started working with Israel, as well as it supported the cause of the Palestine. So we are from that time we are adopting the dehyphenated policy. We upgraded our relations into to strategic relations. Okay, in 2017, it described as marriage in heaven. So from that time we have the very close relation with Israel, but same time we are supporting the separate Palestine state also. So if you current diplomatic development, we see the current diplomatic stand. We have India has condemned the violation of the sovereignty, that Israel violated sovereignty of the Qatar. So it is strongly condemned by India. In fact, the Prime Minister given some such statement. Also, we are doing the balancing act. Why the balancing act is necessary? Because if you see, Israel is the being close to the USA. The USA factor is very important because USA always been supported to Israel, and we are having the close relation with USA. That time is imperative to build the ties with Israel. Also, when it comes to the technology, particularly agriculture, okay, and also the R&D, Israel is leader here. So we have the close. We need to build the ties also, and also when it comes to the defense, we have very close relation. In fact, the Israel is the third or fourth largest military equipment supplier of the India. From that viewpoint, we need to maintain the close relation. And again, when you come to the Arab nations, we need to support the Arab nation, or we need to build a close relation because of the energy security. Because nearly 40-45% of our the energy, the crude oil, other gases comes from these Middle East countries. Okay, so from that perspective, it is very important. Also from the diaspora. So India has used diaspora. Impact in UAE, only 30% population is Indian, ethnic Indian. So that is also important to protection of diaspora. Also from the trade potential, we are eager to conclude the free trade agreement with Gulf Cooperation Council. So from that perspective, the Arab countries are very important. Also, we want to play the major role in the Middle East. Our promise to become Vishwa Guru, okay, or play the bigger role in the region. So from that perspective, the balancing between the both powers is very crucial for the India's perspective. Also, there are the strategic initiatives that I2E2 just we discussed, which are building the strategic and economical cooperation between Israel and Arab countries. Also, the IMEC corridor, which will now pass through the Arab country as well as from Israel. So to increase the connectivity with Europe and reduce the logistic cost as well as the time. From that perspective, connective projects are very crucial. So considering these aspects, we need to balance the ties also, and we are not going back on our own principle, our own ideals, what we are promoting on international stage. So we are supporting the sovereignty as well as we are balancing. Okay, so this is all about the Israel and Arab relation that I wanted to discuss. I have discussed all the historical relations, as well as I have discussed what are the current issues. Okay, I also discussed about the divergent, also the treaties that concluded between Israel. So we'll move towards the next article. It is about the Katchatheevu Island. Okay, so when the dispute occurred, the Katchatheevu Island, we see the location of this Katchatheevu Island. It is located in Palk Strait. Okay, here somewhere, Katchatheevu Island, between Sri Lanka and India. So if you see before the 1974, what was the status? Katchatheevu Island was inhabited. It is located in Palk Strait and historically used by the Tamil fishermen for the resting, drying nets. Also, the attending Saint Anthony Church festival. From the religious perspective and the economical perspective, Katchatheevu Island was very crucial for the Tamil fishermen. So in pre-1974, what was there? There was the shared use of water and there was no strict boundary. But the development comes in 1974 concerning the Katchatheevu Island, where the India and Sri Lanka signed an agreement. So that time India recognized the Sri Lankan sovereignty on Katchatheevu Island, but also it returns the right to worship, to attend this festival of Saint Anthony Church. Also the fishermen's right to rest and dry their nets. So these rights were retained. But in 1976, the Maritime Border Treaty, the commercial fishing rights of Indian fishermen were withdrawn. Okay, so this particular aspect becomes the Achilles heel in when it comes to the India's and Sri Lankan relations. And concerning also Katchatheevu Island, we'll discuss what is implication of this currently in after some time. So in 1983 to 2009, there was the Sri Lankan civil war, and the particularly Japana Peninsula is there, or the northern Sri Lanka part is there. This particular part, this was the control by the LTT, okay, the rebel group. So that time there was the hardly there was the any security provided to Katchatheevu Island. So that time the Tamil Nadu fishermen, they continued fishing near Katchatheevu Island, okay, and there was the frequent clashes between the Sri Lankan Navy and the Tamil Nadu fishermen, but ultimately it was in control of the militants. So that time the clashes were very frequent. But in post 2010 or the post 2009, when the civil war ended, so that time Sri Lanka or Sri Lankan Navy, they started strict enforcement under in the that particular part state. So after that time, we hear the frequent arrest, okay, or the frequent fatalities happens during this firing and firing happens from the Sri Lankan Navy, and there are many fishermen lost their lives in this context. Okay, so this is how started in post 2009. In 2010 onwards, Tamil Nadu consistently demanded retrieval of the Katchatheevu Island, and center emphasized on treaty obligation. In fact, in 2024 election, general election, the Prime Minister highlighted the treaty. Okay, so he emphasized on the treaty that he opposed he accused the Congress of the letting of the sovereignty of Katchatheevu Island. So that time there was a hope that the Indian government again will open the negotiations, and also there will be chance, but it has not happened after election. So that was the one issue happened. So if you see why the dispute is persist, okay, so the treaties happened, all the rights or whatever the dispute was, that was settled, but why this particular dispute is still evergreen? Because of the livelihood and conservation issue. So because the India, there is decline in stock in Indian water, so the fishermen, they are moving towards the Sri Lankan water. So again, if you see when it comes to conservation, the Sri Lankan fishermen are there. They use traditional and sustainable way of fishing. And when it comes to the Indian fishermen, they use the bottom trawling, and Sri Lanka has banned bottom trawling in 2007. So this is the one dispute. There is a concern when it comes to livelihood and conservation. Next is the means conception and legal provision. So there is a right of innocent passage. Okay, so under UNESCO guideline, there is a right of innocent passage, but these rights are no exist without the consent of the state who hold the sovereignty on particular area. So there is the misinterpretation of this particular right to innocent passage. Also, there was one case in Supreme Court which about the which was the Arunachalam Pillai and Muthuya Payal. So in this case, this court says that the historical rights don't equal the territorial sovereignty. Okay, because the whatever we have the historical rights on the island, it don't equal to territorial sovereignty, because in 1974 agreement which has given the sovereignty, it was the sovereignty decision. Okay, so the Indian government willfully ceded the Katchatheevu Island to Sri Lanka. So it is not the whimsical of the Sri Lankan government, that means Sri Lankan government not snatched from the India. So it was the sovereign decision. So this was the particular cited by Supreme Court under this case. Next is about the political sensitivity. There is the conflict between domestic political compulsion as well as the international relations, because there is strong sentiments in the Sri Lanka, Tamil Nadu to take back the Katchatheevu Island. Okay, in fact, this led to many times under the pressure of the DMK or AIDMK, when they were coalition in the central government. That time, in 2013 particularly, Indian government voted against the Sri Lanka. Okay, in the UN. So this was the this become the sensitive political issue in the domestic politics. Also, if you see the Sri Lanka, it is settled the sovereign issue. Also, if you see the Sri Lanka's closeness to the China, okay, so because of this particular issues happening there, Sri Lanka is moving close to the under the previous regime. So that time, to balance the relations between the India and Sri Lanka, that time it was imperative to on India to not to dig these settled issues. So there are, when it comes to politics, there need to be balance between the domestic political compulsion as well as the international relations. Also, we need to promote our strategic autonomy. From that perspective, this issue become very sensitive. So this is the way forward that cited in this particular article. So this will be very crucial to write the mains answer, because UPSC is asking such kind of questions, okay, particularly on the border issues. So we'll see this in detail. So there, the author says that there need of community sensitization. So it highlighting the Sri Lankan Tamil wartime suffering. Also need to encourage the paternity. So both sides need to community sensitization. That is the argument of the author. Also there was the need of joint fisheries management. Okay, so there need to be co-management of the sustainable practice. Also need to regulate the access to specific seasons. Okay, so this is one solution given by the author there. Also there is need of clear legal clarification. So they need to counter the myth of the innocent passage, and also educate the fishermen on the treaty. So our political relations between India and Sri Lanka should be intact. It not be influenced by the domestic political compulsion. Also there need to be ecological measure. Okay, so there need to be promote this deep sea fishing. Also that same time we need to ban on the bottom trawling. Also we need to give the subsidies for the fishermen for the alternative livelihood. So the dispute will become the frequent. Okay, so again there need of institutional mechanism. Okay, what kind of institutional? There need of bilateral commissions which involve the state, the particularly Tamil Nadu state, and from the Sri Lankan side the provincial council for the northern Sri Lanka. So there is need representation from the both side. Okay, so this is the one institutional mechanism need to establish. Also need to people diplomacy. Okay, so there are religious events happens in Saint Anthony Church. Okay, so this can be used as the medium to build the ties between people, because the festivals is very important from the Sri Lankan Tamils and as well as the people from the Tamil Nadu. So this can be used to build the people to people diplomacy. Also there is the need of regional good neighborhood policy. Okay, so currently what India is promoting, the neighborhood first policy. That time under this policy India don't want to hurt neighbor, because we already have seen the pro-China forces in Bangladesh, Nepal, under the previous regime in the Sri Lanka itself, Maldives we are seeing, Pakistan obviously they described their relations like sweeter than honey, deeper than sweet, higher than sky. So this kind of honeymoon relations Pakistan and China have. So when all the neighborhoods are going close to the China and we have the territorial dispute, we are facing Chinese aggression, that time we need to emphasize on the neighborhood first policy. That same time we need to be sensitive for the issue concern of the Tamilian or the Tamil state. So this is the way forward or solution promoted by author in this particular article. So this is all about the Katchatheevu Island we wanted to know. So next article is about the Kerala planning for health insurance policy for expatriate, that is non-resident Keralas, that provide medical insurance coverage through the group policy. I wanted to discuss this article because of if you see the Kerala's health infrastructure or the health service, it is best in the country. So we consider when the national average or Kerala's particular state performance, it is far better. So from that perspective we can take some clues from here. Okay, so why this Kerala is brought this particular policy? They have the two goals. First, it will give the financial protection to non-expatriate or the non-Kerala residents. Second, also it will leverage the state's healthcare excellence as an economical opportunity. So there is the win-win situation. So this is the dual goal that Kerala state government has established here. Now before the starting discussion I just told, we need to see the Kerala's healthcare infrastructure because it is the best in the. So it can be seen through the certain data. We see to infant mortality rate in Kerala it is the 5 per 1,000. Okay, live birth. When it comes to national average, it is about the 25. Okay, so you can see there is huge gap. Also, when it comes to maternal mortality rate, it is about the 1920 per 1 lakh live births. Okay, in Kerala, and when it comes to national average, it is about the 100 to 120. So this is also huge difference is there. Also, next if you see life expectancy, so Kerala it is about 75 to 77, and India the national average is 69 to 70. Also, the total fertility rate, Kerala is 1.5 when national average is 2 to 2.5. Also, if you see the infrastructure related, healthcare infrastructure related, when it comes to the hospitals, Kerala has 3.8 beds per 1,000 people, and when it comes to the India, it is about the 0.5 to 0.8 per 1,000 people. Well, this is about the infrastructure, that is gap between Kerala and India. Also, when it comes to the human resource, Kerala has around 509 doctors per 1,000 patients. Sorry, per lakh patients. Okay. So when it comes to the India, it is about the 839. Okay, it includes the doctors with MBBS doctors as well as the traditional, that is BMS, BHMS, all this including, it goes to 848 unless it is more than 1,000. Okay, so this is the human resources, the infrastructure gap when it comes to the Kerala and India. So from that perspective, it is very crucial to see the in-cart initiatives taken by the Kerala government, so we can fill the gap in the national average. So if you see what are the challenges faced by the Indian healthcare system, there is low public health expenditure. So the public expenditure, it lasts about 2 to 2.5% of the GDP. It is very low. With the WTO, it recommends it need to be World Bank or the other UN recommended it's to 6% of need of 6% of the GDP. Okay, so this is the gap we have there. Again, when it comes to human resources shortage, we have seen what shortage we have, that is far less than the global average or the when compared to Kerala. Also, there is infrastructure inequality, access disparity, because there is infrastructure inequality when it comes to the urban and rural. The 66% of the secondary and tertiary healthcare infrastructure in the urban region, and the rural EPC, where the 60% population lives, where we have only 33% of the healthcare secondary or tertiary health infrastructure. So this is the huge gap. Also, when it comes to the between states, so on the all aspects, we have the huge infrastructure gap when compared to the north states and the southern state. So there is the infrastructure inequality on the urban and rural as well as the between the states. Also, there is non-communicable disease and aging population. We have seen in next 10 years we will be having more than 15% population above the 60 age of the 60. So that time there will be risk of the non-communicable disease. So it will add the extra burden on the Indian healthcare system. From that perspective, it is very important to understand these issues. Also, the out-of-pocket expenditure. So it is came down to 49%. Okay, according to Niti Aayog data, but it is still very high when compared to the other country healthcare out-of-pocket expenditure, and it ultimately leaves financial risk on the households. So from that perspective, it is very important to understand these particular issues. Okay, so next is about the preventive and the public health weakness, because the Indian healthcare system that focus on the preventive, that focus on the not preventive, that focus on the curative. So from that perspective, it is need to focus on the preventive. So this is the policy approach is there. Also, when it comes to regulation and coordination, when it comes to the private sector, which is the bigger than the public sector, and this is the very loosely coordinated or loosely regulated. So this is the regulation coordination challenges we have now. So what we can learn from the Kerala, or what lessons Kerala offers for India. So there is high correlation between high literacy and health awareness. Okay, so it is popularly known as Kerala hypothesis. If woman is more educated, woman education, so there will be proper family planning. And if family planning is proper there, then there can be focus on quality healthcare as well as quality education. So this is from the inclusive growth perspective, this literacy and the health awareness is very crucial. This one lesson we can learn from the Kerala. Also, there is need of strong healthcare, primary healthcare network. If we see from the Kerala's perspective, it is reverse. There are more than 70% of the healthcare infrastructure, okay, that consider primary healthcare. Okay, so particularly the rural population, where the rural population lies. Okay, so they have more than 70% from that, because they have the low burden of the disease there. Also, the quality assurance program that we need to conduct periodically. So Kerala has the total screening tests it conducted yearly. So all the population in Kerala that will be go under the screening test. So that time they focus on the early prevention of the diseases. So this is one more lesson. Also, from the universal and inclusive insurance schemes that we need to focus. That is Kerala what is building they're building on. Also need to emphasize maternal and child health. Just we have seen from the MMR data or IMR data. So it is just because of the emphasis on maternal child care. Also, there is need of the public preventive health focus and the community engagement. Okay, there need of the community engagement into healthcare infrastructure, healthcare system. So what is Kerala achieved due to this community engagement? So these are the lessons that we need to learn from the Kerala to solve our the healthcare gap or accessibility, affordability gaps are there when it comes to Indian healthcare system. So this is about this particular article. Next article, we are moving towards the particular that India resists the full crypto framework, fears the systematic risk. Okay, so we are briefly will see what is the regulation, the background of the cryptocurrency regulation framework in India. So everything started in 2013 when the RBI issues one initial caution warning. Okay, so use of the cryptocurrency on investment in cryptocurrency. So that time the formal measures started taking by the RBI or Indian government. So in 2018, RBI bans banks and regulated entities from the servicing crypto exchanges. So RBI comes with the official circular in the 2018 where it bans the bank or the regulated entity from the servicing in crypto exchanges. In 20, but it countered in 2020 where the Supreme Court overturns this RBI's ban in 2018 under this particular case. So this is overturned by the Supreme Court in 2020. So in 21, what happens? There was the cryptocurrency regulation of official digital currency bill introduced. Okay, the bill is still pending in Parliament, but this particular bill bans on the private cryptos and established the digital rupee. So digital rupee, the process is undergoing, but it proposes to ban the private cryptos. So this is the one bill part, but still pending in the Parliament. But in 22, in Union budget, it introduced tax regime for the virtual digital assets, including crypto. So in this particular budget, they introduced 30% flat capital gain tax on the crypto profit. Okay. Also, there would be no deduction. Okay, if someone is earning having the loss in the other assets, so the whatever the profit is they are earned in crypto, that will not be transferred to that particular asset. So it will not be offset to recover these losses in other asset. So this is the one more important provision introduced by the budget. Also, it is imposed 1% TDS, that is tax deducted at source on the transaction above certain threshold. So these are the when the regulation of cryptocurrency comes, these are the provisions introduced in India. So next is the what is the legal status of the regulation in India? So cryptocurrency are not legal tender in India. Okay, so crypto exchanges, they operate but under the registration with the Financial Intelligence Unit or the adherence to KYC guidelines. So the exchange, there is no ban on the crypto exchanges, but there is need to be it is not considered legal tender in India. Also, the crypto holding in India, when it comes to the, if you see the data, it is about the $4.5. Okay, $5 billion. It is the not a very it is not active or not a huge size when compared to the other countries. Also, the trading volume, that is dropping after 22 tax regime. Okay, so because of the higher taxes, the trading volume is started decreasing. So that is the one concern. So the next is the if you see the why RBI has coming with a ban on the cryptocurrency, they are proposing to ban. So why they are proposing to ban? Because of the risk associated with the cryptocurrency. First is systematic and financial stability risk. Okay, this is the risk associated with cryptocurrency because cryptocurrency is not legal tender. So if cryptocurrency people started exchanging as a legal tender, then ultimately it will risk the sovereignty of the government. Okay, so the sovereign currency will be under danger. So that is the one more aspect. Also, when it comes to the speculation investor protection, this aspect is neglected by the crypto entities. So from that perspective, considering that one only, government is planning to ban on this. Also, if you see the illicit activities and money laundering, particularly the terror funding, okay, so it happened to cryptocurrency. Also, if you see the expert reports also cited majority of cyber crime cases. So whatever uh, the price or the demand they ask in return of the giving the access to the system, they ask in the cryptocurrency. Okay, they ask the cryptocurrency platform to exchange their demand. So that is the one more concern it related. Also, there is regulatory arbitrage and global coordination need. Okay, the government, the countries across the uh, world, they are not on the same page. Okay, when it comes to the cryptocurrency regulation. So these are the concern with that is because of this RBI is considering the ban on cryptocurrency, as well as the government is also coming with the ban on the cryptocurrency. Okay, so this is about this particular article. Next is about the no public consultation for the mining of critical and the atomic minerals by the government. So this article I have got less time to prepare, so I have kept a lot of information here. So the Ministry of Environment and for Climate Change, okay, it is exempted the mining involving an atomic, critical and strategic mineral from the public consultation. Okay, particularly public hearing requirement. Okay, and it is cited the need of the national security and strategic consideration. So citing these two aspects, they exempted mining projects in the atomic, critical, strategic minerals from the public consultation or public hearing. Okay, so still this project will undergo under comprehensive appraisal by the sectoral expert committee at the union government level, regardless of their size. So there is still one check is there that they need to go through comprehensive appraisal before the finalization. Also, this exemption is followed by the request from the Ministry of Defense as well as from Department of Atomic Energy. Also, there is it created one separate category of such critical minerals under the Parivesh 2.0 portal. So in order to give the faster clearance for the mining of this atomic, critical and the strategic minerals. So this is the context. So now next is the what is the development for the environment impact assessment. So environment and impact assessment, the parent act is the Environment and Protection Act. So under this act, this particular guideline previously released by the government. Under section 3 of Environmental Protection Act, it gives the environmental impact assessment notification. Okay, so first time it is issued in 1994 and later it is updated in 2006. So in 1994, that environmental impact assessment notification, it has made the mandatory environmental clearance and public participation for the mining projects. So this is the first time. In 2006 updatation, they have refined the categories and also introduced scoping and detailed procedure that we will see later on. Also, there was some relaxation given. So in 2017, there was an exemption introduced for the coal mine expansion up to 40% of the capacity. Okay, so if it is not increasing actual area, then there would be exemption provided to the coal mines, and that will be without hearing. In 2021, Minister of Environment, it allowed the legacy mining project. Okay, so legacy mining project to skip the fresh public hearing under the certain condition. So legacy public mining means which are the older one, and these projects approved in 1994 rules. So they can skip the fresh public hearing under the certain condition, but certain condition was there. Still there are checks. So this is about the legal basis. Next we will discuss the what are the key provision of environmental impact assessment in 2006 guideline. So it has given the categorization of project. So it is categorized projects in two aspects, that category A and category B1 and B2. So in category A, the projects are from the national significance that are kept there, and these projects are cleared by the Central Expert Appraisal Committee. And the project which comes in B1 and second category, that B1 and B2, particularly smaller project, these are the cleared by the State Expert Committee. Okay, so this is the two categories are there. Also the process, they need to go through certain process. So first they need to go through screening, then the scoping, they will see the scope of the project. Also they need to draft the environmental impact assessment report. Then after that they need to go for public consultation. So here the public consultation includes the public hearing. So public actively participate in the process. Also they will final after this final environmental impact assessment and the environmental management plan. So then the clearance decision will be given. So under the public's consultation, that is this fourth step, there is mandatory public hearing. Okay, and it is presided by the district collector or also designated authority. Okay, so there is mandatory public hearing. Also there need to be give advertisement locally in newspaper. Okay, in local language they need to give. Also they will invite the objection and suggestions, okay, on the particular project. Then the project opponent, they must address the concern raised during the hearing, or whatever the changes that suggested during the hearing, they need to incorporate in the environmental management plan. So this is the provisions of the this 2006 guideline. Also there is a judicial precedent. Precedent is set by the Supreme Court. So it upheld that the public consultation is the constitutional imperative because in the particular cases. Okay, so Alembic Pharmaceuticals and the Rohit Prajapati case, it says that the post facto public clearance is unconstitutional. Okay, if the establishment of the plant, if the government the authority is going for the public this clearance, okay, then it is the unconstitutional because it is highlighted the article 21, right to quality environment. Okay, under the right to life. So this becomes very crucial. Also the common cause versus Union of India case, the lax clearance procedure in the mining is criticized by the Supreme Court. So there is that kept the morally it is given some moral guidelines for these mining projects. Okay, so now we'll come back to article what will be the implication of the exemption of project. So first implication, it will undermine the public participation and the rights. Okay, so there will be communities which will be affected by this project. So their constitutional right, that is right to clean environment or right to be heard, these two rights will be diluted. So also it will dilute the accountability of the project implementation company or the committee, whatever the government agency is there or private agency. So there will be dilute their accountability to protect or conserve the environment. So these are the two implication coming out. Also when it comes to the environmental, it also environmental risk and sustainability concern, because the most of the critical these strategic minerals are there that is located in the sensitive area. Okay, if you are aware about we have got the huge lithium resource in the Jammu Kashmir, which is the ecologically fragile area. So this is very sensitive area where we are going to mining these zones. Okay, so from that perspective it is creating the sustainability concern. Also it will establish the precedent and it will lead to further dilution. So it will establish the chain. Okay, so now they are given exemption from the certain critical these strategic minerals. Now it will more company will ask for the different minerals. So it will establish the precedent. Okay, and it will lead to further dilution. So this is the concern raised here. Also there are certain way forward what we need to do when it comes to the balancing between environmental conservation as well as the economical growth. So way forward when it comes to need to maintain the public hiring. Okay, it should be mandatory irrespective of whether the project is strategically important, okay, or the important from the national security. Democratic rights of the people should prevail. So that is the one assessment. So there need a parallel confidential assessment. Okay, in case of in case of security concern, there need to be closed hearing. Okay, or need to there can be shield the specific details, but there must be public consultation or the public hearing. So there should not be wholesale exemption from the process. Also, when it comes to the judiciary must play the major role. There need to be judicial oversight to ensure the decision taken under this particular public hearing or the after the going through the procedure that can be challenged in the courts. Okay, so the court will be uphold the Article 21, that is the right to life of the people. Also, there need to be transparent criteria. So under this criteria, there need to be clearly defined what qualifies the strategic and critical. Okay, also need to ensure the minimal exemptions. So if you see the always government exempt projects or anything under the strategic consideration or the national security provision, they need to be definition what comes under the national security or strategic consideration. So there should be transparent criteria. Okay, also there enhance compliance monitoring. How this will done? Ensure the post clearance monitoring. Okay, so whatever the suggestion given, okay, during public hearing or whatever the given by the civil service organization or the affected communities, whether they will uphold these suggestions or not. So for that they need a post clearance monitoring, also audit to check non-compliance or the environmental damage. So these aspects need to examine. Also, there is need to be restore the strength of the draft 2020 environmental impact assessment. Okay, which refrain from the incremental dilution via the office memos. It is strengthen the participatory governance. So it refrain from the incremental dilution, like we have seen the mining project, which can expand without public hearing by 40% if there is no change in size. So this kind of incremental dilution is there, so that can be regulated properly. So this is the way forward I came across through this article. So here I'm going to finish the discussion. Tomorrow I will come with many topics that comes in the Indian Express as well as the Hindu. So these also I'm going to discuss. This I will discuss in detailed way. So your mains current affair part will be taken care of. Okay, so thank you very much for this.